Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare quarter-dollar coins, cause some of these coins hold an incredible history, and some are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest varieties and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're turning our attention to a coin that millions of people have handled in their lifetime, but very few realize just how special and valuable it can be. That's right, we're talking about the United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1967. At first glance, a 1967 quarter might seem like just another piece of spare change. You might think it's too modern to be valuable, too common to be collectible, or too plain to be exciting. But here's the twist. Certain 1967 quarters are turning heads in the numismatic community, and some lucky owners have discovered their seemingly ordinary coins are worth far more than 25 cents. Let's begin with a little background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Since then, it's become a fixture in American coinage. But in 1965, just 2 years before our spotlight coin, the U.S. Mint made a major change that would forever shape the future of coins. They stopped producing quarters with silver. Prior to 1965, quarters were composed of 90% silver. But due to the rising cost of silver and a growing demand for coinage, the Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition. So, by 1967, quarters were no longer made with silver, which might make you wonder, why would a 1967 quarter be valuable? The answer lies in a few key areas: rarity, condition, and minting errors. Let's talk rarity first. While millions of 1967 quarters were minted, very few of them were preserved in pristine condition. In fact, the U.S. Mint didn't produce proof sets for circulation in 1967, which means high-quality examples from that year are extremely hard to find. Collectors looking for a flawless 1967 quarter often struggle to find one with no blemishes, strong details, and that original mint luster. Now let's talk about what really makes certain 1967 quarters explode in value. Errors. Coin errors are like lightning in a bottle. They happen rarely, often go unnoticed at first, and when discovered, they create a buzz among collectors. For the 1967 quarter, one of the most famous and sought-after errors is the double die error. This occurs when a coin is struck more than once by misaligned dies, causing parts of the design, like the lettering, the date, or Washington's profile, to appear doubled. Another type of error found in some 1967 quarters is a misstrike, where the coin may be off-center or have an incomplete impression due to a malfunction during the minting process. These kinds of errors are highly desirable because they are truly one-of-a-kind. Imagine owning a coin where the date is shifted, or the lettering looks shadowed or duplicated. That kind of mistake turns a common coin into a collector's dream. There are even reports of transitional errors. Though rare, there are a few instances where a 1967 quarter was mistakenly struck on a silver planchet left over from earlier years. These quarters are noticeably heavier and may have a distinct silver ring when dropped on a surface. They're incredibly rare and incredibly valuable, but condition still plays a huge role. A 1967 quarter that has never been circulated and has been preserved in mint state condition can already be quite valuable. Combine that with a dramatic error, and you've got yourself a coin that collectors will compete for. The coin market loves stories like these: coins that slip through the cracks, coins that beat the odds, coins that go from pocket change to prized possessions. What makes the 1967 Washington quarter especially exciting for collectors is that it's recent enough to still be found in circulation, yet old enough to carry historical value. It represents a turning point in American coinage, coming just after the removal of silver. It also falls within a 3-year window, 1965 to 1967, where no mint marks were used. So, any small deviation from the norm becomes even more significant. Every detail matters, and collectors love hunting for those small quirks that make a coin unique. If you're a coin collector, or even just someone who enjoys hunting for hidden treasures, the 1967 quarter is definitely one to watch for. Check your change, dig through those old coin jars, and look closely at every quarter you come across. You never know what might be sitting right under your nose. Now, let's talk numbers. A regular 1967 quarter in worn condition might still only be worth 25 cents. But one in near-perfect mint condition? Or one with a recognized minting error? That's where things get exciting. Because if you happen to have a rare error version of the 1967 Washington quarter, especially one in pristine condition, it could be worth as much as $80,000. Yes, you heard that right. $80,000. Just imagine turning a simple piece of change into the ultimate collector's prize. So, next time you get a handful of coins back from the store or you're sorting through your old piggy bank, take a moment to inspect those quarters. The one you overlook could end up being the one that changes everything. Top 2, we're uncovering the secrets behind one of the most surprising coins in American coinage history, the 1970 Washington quarter dollar. Now, you might be thinking, what's so special about a 1970 quarter? It's not silver. It's not ancient. Millions of them were minted, right? Well, yes, on the surface, the 1970 quarter might seem like just another coin that passed through countless hands at grocery stores, gas stations, or vending machines. But beneath that common appearance lies a shocking truth. There are a few extremely rare and valuable versions of this coin that collectors are paying massive amounts of money for. Let's go back in time for a moment. The year is 1970. The United States is in the midst of political and cultural change. The Vietnam War is ongoing, the space race is in full swing, and coin production is shifting away from the silver compositions of earlier decades. Quarters minted in 1970 were made from a copper-nickel clad instead of silver, and were produced in large numbers by both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But here's where things get exciting. Among the millions of quarters minted that year, a few incredibly rare versions were struck with errors that would later capture the attention of serious numismatists and collectors. One of the most famous examples is the 1970 Washington quarter that was accidentally struck on a 1941 Canadian quarter. Yes, you heard that right, somehow. A Canadian coin planchet made its way into the U.S. Mint and was used to strike a 1970 American quarter. The result? A dramatic, one-of-a-kind error where you can see remnants of the original Canadian design beneath the American quarter image. This type of mistake is not only incredibly rare, but it's also a dream come true for collectors who seek out bizarre and unique errors. And that's just one kind of error found among the 1970 quarters. There are also double die errors, where parts of the design appear doubled, especially in the date or lettering. These errors occur when the die that strikes the coin is misaligned during the minting process, leaving behind a ghost-like shadow of the design. If you ever spot a 1970 quarter where the date looks fuzzy or appears to have an echo, you might just be holding something very special. Then there are off-center strikes, another type of error where the coin's design is not properly aligned, resulting in a partially blank surface or a distorted image. These mistakes are rare and often escape detection during quality control at the mint. Because of their uniqueness, they are prized by error coin collectors who know just how scarce they are. Now let's talk about condition. As with any collectible coin, condition plays a massive role in value. A 1970 quarter with an error is interesting, but if it's also in uncirculated or mint state condition, its value can skyrocket. Coins that have never been used in daily transactions have sharp details, clean surfaces, and no signs of wear are the kind of finds that make headlines in the numismatic world. What makes the 1970 Washington quarter so intriguing is that it flies under the radar. It's not part of the silver era coins, nor is it one of the modern commemoratives. It sits right in the middle, modern enough to be familiar, but old enough to have gained significant collectible interest, especially with the right error or condition. It's the kind of coin you could easily overlook, and that's what makes it such an exciting discovery when someone realizes what they truly have. Imagine digging through your coin jar or inherited collection and stumbling across a 1970 quarter with unusual markings. Maybe it looks strange or feels slightly different. Maybe the date is doubled, or the surface shows a partial image of something that shouldn't be there. That's the thrill that keeps collectors on the hunt, knowing that even the most ordinary-looking coin might hold an extraordinary secret. Now, let's talk about value. If you've been paying close attention, you'll know that not all 1970 quarters are created equal. Most are still worth 25 cents. Some are worth a few dollars if they're in decent condition. But for those rare error coins, especially the infamous 1970 quarter struck on a 1941 Canadian quarter or a high-grade double die, you're stepping into serious territory. Because one of these rare 1970 quarters, in the right condition and with a documented error, has been valued as high as $77,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, 77,000 United States dollars. That's enough to buy a new car, pay off student loans, or take the adventure of a lifetime. all from a single quarter most people wouldn't even glance at twice. So, if you've got a 1970 quarter lying around, it might be time to take a second look. Check for errors, examine the condition, and if something seems off or special, don't ignore it. You could be holding one of the most valuable coins in circulation history. Top 3, we're exploring a coin that might just be sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer or coin jar. The 1972 Washington quarter dollar from the United States of America. Now, at first glance, the 1972 quarter may not seem particularly rare. After all, hundreds of millions of them were minted. It's a standard copper-nickel-clad coin, not made of silver, and it doesn't stand out visually to the average person. But as every serious coin collector knows, what makes a coin valuable is not just its age or face value. It's the story it tells, the condition it's in, and the errors it carries. And let me tell you, the 1972 quarter has quite the story to tell. Let's rewind the clock to the early 1970s. America was in a time of change. The war in Vietnam was nearing its end, the Watergate scandal was beginning to unravel, and the economy was in flux. In the midst of all this, the U.S. Mint continued churning out coinage for everyday use. Like the Washington quarter, a coin first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. By 1972, the Washington quarter had become a familiar piece in every American's pocket. But not all 1972 quarters were created equal. While most were struck without any issue, a small handful emerged with significant and rare minting errors. And that's where things get really interesting. Let's talk about these errors, because this is what turns an ordinary 25-cent coin into a high-value collector's item. One of the most sought-after varieties of the 1972 Washington quarter is the double die obverse. This error occurs during the minting process when the coin die, the tool used to strike the design, imprints the image onto the coin more than once, but slightly misaligned. The result? A dramatic doubling effect, most noticeable in the word liberty, the date 1972, or the motto "In God We Trust." This doubling can be seen with the naked eye, and collectors go absolutely wild for such errors because they are so rare and so striking. Another type of error that adds massive value to the 1972 quarter is the off-center strike. Imagine a quarter where the design isn't properly aligned with the round blank it's being stamped onto. Part of the coin might be blank, or the image might be pushed far to one side. These types of errors are extremely collectible, especially when a significant portion of the design is still visible and the date can be clearly read. Then we have the clipped planchet error. This happens when the metal sheet used to cut coin blanks has overlapping punches, resulting in a quarter that looks like it has a bite taken out of it. Combine this with a readable date like 1972, and you have a rare and highly desirable error coin. But even without these dramatic errors, the condition of the coin plays a massive role in its value. A 1972 quarter that was never circulated, what collectors call mint state, or MS, can be worth far more than face value. Coins graded MS, 65 and higher, with perfect luster, no scratches, and crisp, clean details, are considered high-grade collectibles. So, how do you know if your 1972 quarter is one of the rare gems? Well, start by examining the coin carefully. Use a magnifying glass to check for signs of doubling, off-center designs, or unusual cuts. Look at the surfaces. Are they free of wear and dings? Does the coin shine like it just came out of the mint? If so, you might be holding something truly special. For collectors, the thrill is in the hunt. That moment when you find an unusual quarter in your change or tucked away in an old coin collection is absolutely electrifying. And when that coin turns out to be one of the rare 1,972 varieties with errors or in pristine condition, it's like discovering buried treasure. These coins have been known to fetch staggering prices at auctions, especially when certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Once authenticated and properly graded, these error quarters can reach values that would make any collector's jaw drop. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. What is the top value one of these 1972 Washington quarters can actually reach? Are you ready? A rare 1972 Washington quarter, with a significant mint error and in excellent condition, has been valued as high as $75,000. Yes, that's right, 75,000 United States dollars for a single quarter that someone might have spent on a soda or dropped into a parking meter without thinking twice, so the next time you come across a 1972 quarter, don't be so quick to toss it aside. Give it a second look. Check for signs of rarity. You never know. You just might be holding a hidden treasure worth more than most people make in a year. Top for we're about to unlock the surprising secrets behind a coin you might easily overlook. The 1979 Washington quarter dollar from the United States of America. Now, most people wouldn't think twice about a 1979 quarter. It's not made of silver. It's not ancient. In fact, it's a coin many of us have probably used in vending machines or laundry rooms without a second thought. But what if I told you that this common-looking quarter could actually be worth a small fortune under the right circumstances? That's right. This isn't just spare change we're talking about. For collectors, the 1979 Washington quarter can be a rare and valuable prize. But not all quarters from this year are equal. What makes a particular 1979 quarter so special? That's where the story gets truly fascinating. Let's start with some background. By 1979, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for nearly 5 decades. It was first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday and had become one of the most recognized coins in American currency. However, by the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint had transitioned away from using silver and instead began producing quarters using a copper-nickel clad composition. With over 500 million quarters minted in 1979, what sets a few of them apart as collector's items? It all comes down to minting errors, rarity of condition, and the always exciting element of unintentional uniqueness. One of the biggest value drivers for the 1979 Washington quarter is minting errors. These are mistakes that happen during the coin's production process. Errors that make certain quarters one-of-a-kind and extremely appealing to collectors. One error to watch for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, or planchet, isn't properly aligned with the die. The result is a quarter with part of the design shifted or missing entirely. The more off-center it is, while still showing the full date, the more valuable it becomes. Another major error is the double die obverse. This is when the die strikes the coin more than once, but in slightly different positions. You'll notice this especially in the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, which may appear with a doubled, shadow-like effect. These are extremely rare, and sharp-eyed collectors snap them up quickly when they appear at auctions. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a miscut. These dramatic-looking coins can be quite valuable when accompanied by clear mint marks and dates. Speaking of mint marks, pay close attention to where your coin was minted. The 1979 quarter came out of both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, marked with a P or D, respectively. While most of these coins are common, those in flawless uncirculated condition, especially with rare errors, are anything but ordinary. Now let's talk about condition, because it matters. In the world of coin collecting, grade is king. A coin that's been in someone's pocket for years, scratched up and dull, won't bring in the big bucks. But a 1979 quarter that has never entered circulation and has been preserved in mint state, especially those graded MS, 65 and above, can command serious interest. These top-tier quarters feature sharp details, original luster, and zero wear. They are the kind of coins collectors dream of finding, whether in a forgotten roll from the bank, inside an old coin folder from Grandpa's attic, or even in a change jar that hasn't been touched in decades. And let's not forget the thrill of the hunt. There's something truly exhilarating about inspecting a handful of quarters and suddenly spotting a detail that doesn't look quite right. For collectors, that moment is pure magic, the beginning of a discovery that could lead to a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. So here's the big question. How much can one of these rare, error-filled, or mint-condition 1979 Washington quarters actually be worth? Well, the answer might surprise you. If you happen to have a 1979 quarter with a significant mint error, or one that is certified to be in exceptional, uncirculated condition, you're not just looking at pocket change. You're looking at a coin that has sold for as much as $72,000. Yes, you heard that right. 72,000 United States dollars for a single quarter. A coin that someone else might have dropped in a tip jar or paid for a gumball with. That's the kind of value we're talking about. And it's what makes coin collecting one of the most exciting and rewarding hobbies around us. So before you toss aside your change or roll up your quarters for the bank, take a moment. Look closely. You might be holding a hidden treasure. Top 5. We're diving into a coin that might look ordinary, but has the potential to be extraordinarily valuable. We're talking about the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from the year 1981. Now, before you start thinking, what's so special about a coin from the 80s? Let me stop you right there. Because the 1981 Washington quarter holds secrets that many collectors don't even realize. And if you're lucky enough to find the right one, you could be holding something worth far more than 25 cents. This isn't just about a quarter. It's about rare mint errors, exceptional condition, and the hidden gems that are still out there waiting to be discovered. But let's rewind for a second and set the stage. The Washington quarter has been a part of American coinage since 1932, designed to commemorate the 200th birthday of the first U.S. president. By the time 1981 rolled around, these quarters were an everyday part of life, used in everything from gumball machines to arcade games. But among the millions minted that year, a small number were struck with characteristics so unique that they now command the attention of collectors and coin dealers across the country. First, let's talk about what makes a 1981 quarter stand out. It's not the silver content, because like most quarters minted after 1965, it's made of copper-nickel clad. But here's where it gets exciting: minting errors. These rare mistakes that happen during the coin's production are what elevate a simple coin into the category of highly collectible and extremely valuable. So what kind of errors are we talking about? One of the most sought after is the double die obverse. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once with a slightly shifted die, creating a noticeable doubling effect in the lettering or details on George Washington's profile. If you look at the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" and notice a ghosted or shadowed appearance, congratulations, you might have something special. Another error collectors go crazy for is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin isn't aligned properly under the press, causing part of the design to be cut off. A dramatically off-center strike, especially one where the date is still visible, is not just a conversation piece. It's a valuable rarity. And then there's the clipped planchet error, where a part of the coin is missing due to a misfeed during the minting process. These clipped quarters look like they've had a bite taken out of them and are another hot item for collectors. Even small details like the mint mark can make a difference. Quarters from 1981 were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins with a bold, clear S, mint mark, indicating they were minted as proofs, are often better struck with finer details. But sometimes, even these proofs end up in circulation by mistake, making them even more exciting to find. Beyond minting errors, another major factor that affects value is condition. The grading scale used by collectors ranks coins from poor to mint state. And believe me, a 1981 quarter in mint state condition, meaning it looks almost exactly the way it did the day it was struck, is extremely desirable. If it has full luster, sharp detail, and no signs of wear, you're looking at a coin that collectors are eager to pay a premium for. Now imagine this. You're sorting through some old change, or maybe flipping through a forgotten coin album from a relative's attic. Suddenly, you notice a quarter that looks different. The date is 1981, but the lettering looks doubled. Or maybe the coin's design is slightly off-center. Your heart races. Could this be one of those rare finds? For many collectors, moments like this are what make the hobby so thrilling. It's the idea that something rare, valuable, and historically significant could be hiding in plain sight. And the best part? These treasures aren't just locked away in museums. They're still out there, waiting to be found by someone just like you. So, what's the value of one of these rare and exceptional 1981 Washington quarters? How much could it really be worth? Well, here's the number you've been waiting for. If you come across a 1981 quarter with a major error, or one in pristine, mint condition with high grading and sharp details, it could fetch as much as $69,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, 69,000 United States dollars. For a coin that many people would pass over without a second glance. That's why coin collecting is more than just a hobby. It's a journey into history, mystery, and sometimes incredible reward. So before you cash in your change or toss that quarter into a parking meter, take a closer look. You might be holding on to a hidden fortune,